Welcome, everybody, to another episode of MC Fireside Chats. My name is Brian Searl with Insider Perks. Super excited to be here with you. I don't even know what week it is. I'm on so many meetings and so many calls. It's like week 2, 3 of April. It's got to be 2, right? Week 2? No, week 3. Anyway, something like that. Super excited to be back here for whatever episode we're doing of my show. But excited to welcome back some of our recurring guests here that we always have on the show, Mr. Jeff Hoffman, who is nursing some bronchitis, and I have no idea why he showed up. I think we should require doctor's notes in the future. Make a note of that, Shara, so they can come to the podcast. Mike Harrison's here. He's a little like fuzzy and fading in and out, but we'll just assume he's as handsome as he always is. And then we have Sandy Ellingson here with us as well. And then 3 special guests. Sorry, Kurtis Wilkins from Our Journey, runs a great company, multiple companies. Sorry, Kurtis, I didn't mean to slight you. Multiple companies. We're going to talk to him about that thing and some of the interesting stuff he has going on. We've got Jennifer here from Crystal River KOA. And we've got, do you want to be Yolanda, or I don't know how to pronounce the shortened version of your name because I'm not smart enough. So do you want to be called Yolanda, or how should I pronounce your first name? I can't hear you. So maybe we'll just assume that it's Yolanda for now. And sorry if I'm doing it wrong. But that's what's in my notes. And I know you have commented on our podcast before as Yolanda. So anyway, welcome. I want to first toss it to our recurring guests here, Jeff, Mike, or Sandy. Is there anything that's come across your desk in the last month or so since we've last had this kind of group gathering with all of us together that you really feel is important to talk about or share?
Well, I've been having fun going through the KOA report for this year. I still don't think I've fully consumed it, but I'm loving all the data that I'm getting there, and I think that'll be a great conversation at some point.
We should talk about that briefly. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. We're going to digest that later on Outwired too, but go ahead. Somebody else is going to talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's new? We've had a lot of big news recently with CRR and Insider Perks. Last week, it was announced that Rigsby, our AI voice chat bot, rolled out reservations via Rigsby on the chat, which is huge news, first of its kind in the industry. And then in another month or so, we're going to roll out Rigsby voice reservations, which will change the industry forever. You'll no longer get a busy signal. You'll no longer get a no answer. You can call and make a reservation at 1 a.m. So we're very excited for this new technology with Insider Perks, evolving the industry for the modern world and moving it forward. We expect that it will be broken a few times in the first month and won't work perfectly, but that's what innovation and testing and working through this is all about. But we're super excited for this technology and to work with the guests and drive revenue.
Your check is in the mail, Mike. Thank you.
I hope my check is in the mail. It better be.
I mean, it wasn't planned, to be clear. Like, I do need to sponsor the show. I should commit myself.
I don't mean the check from you. I want more money. More money.
Oh, okay. All right. As long as it's not from me, you can have as much money as you want.
Reservations.
So anything else? Anything from you, Jeff?
Just that I got quite a few data reports today. One from OHI, one from KOA. And I don't think where the other one came in. One of the reports said that a great majority of the people that started camping during COVID have stayed in the industry, so that we haven't lost as many as we feared we might. So that was encouraging.
Okay. Good news. Sandy, do you happen to have a copy of the KOA report that you could pull up? Not right this second, but in like a few minutes, if I gave you a few minutes?
Oh, yeah. I can, and I also want to add 2 more things, Brian. Even though you did it, I'm going to take credit for it, okay?
That's fine.
I love getting the Modern Campground weekly, or daily, actually, email. And there were 2 things in there this last week that I thought really hit home for me, because it's something I've been so excited about. Is one, all the different things I've been seeing about campgrounds now embracing and doing events, because I do believe that is key to the new campers creating these experiences. And the other thing I saw, which really excited me, was how campgrounds are now partnering with some dealerships to actually do training at their campgrounds for new campers. And so to see that kind of come out this week, and I really appreciate what you're doing with Modern Campground to get that out and kind of encourage all of us.
This is how it goes, Kurtis. I just cut it really short. I just talk about all my companies for an hour, and then we just close the show. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate you watching. We're done. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I've had very little to do with Modern Campground, is the honest truth. It's Akari, my editor-in-chief. Shara, actually here, my podcast coordinator, does a lot with Modern Campground. So kudos to the team behind that. But I'm glad you're finding it useful.
I can take credit for it because I've been the thorn in your side on a weekly basis talking about how we need these things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you're one of the people, as many people are in the industry, but not many people, I would say few people, probably less than 50, who really try to push this industry forward. And so, yeah, you've definitely had your impact. And I'm happy to know you and have you on the show, as are some of the other people here too. So do we want to spend a couple minutes talking on data? Because I know we're focusing mostly on operations here. I want to give Kurtis a chance to introduce himself, Jennifer, and Yolanda. And then obviously we can go around to Sandy and Jeff and Mike and introduce yourselves as well. And then maybe decide if we want to talk about 5 minutes and spend that on data, because that obviously impacts operations.
Yeah, I'll go first. Thank you, Brian, for having me on the show. It's my first time. I want to say thank you for that. Also, so I'm the Senior Vice President of Acquisitions at Our Journey, and I am also the head of our data science department. And what we're kind of seeing right now is this, the first quarter, there was 2 major road bumps in terms of consumers and how they were consuming our product and RVs. And I saw it happened right after about January 23rd. We saw a big drop in terms of like activity, and it not just Our Journey activity. We're talking nationwide activity in terms of like conversion events and consumption. It took a little bit into February, and then it slowly recovered. And then we just saw another round of that here in April. And so this consumer changed its consumption habits. I don't know what everybody else is seeing, but I know that our lead times are definitely getting tighter in comparison to what they've been historically. So we haven't seen a drop in bookings. We've seen a change in the way they're consuming our product.
Great. Thanks for being here. I want to dive into all the things you're doing with Our Journey and advanced outdoor management and all that kind of stuff. Somebody's squeaking in the background. I don't know whose it is, but if you feel like your mic might be squeaking, feel free to mute it intermittently. Jennifer from Crystal River KOA. How are you?
I'm Jennifer Grissom from the Crystal River KOA. I'm the owner. I also was the developer and engineer for the project. We opened in July of last year. So this is all new for me. And thank you, Brian, for having me on. So engineering is my background. I partnered with another KOA owner, franchise owner. And honestly, it's been a great year for us. We're obviously in Florida, a different market. We had a great January, well over projections. So, I'm so happy to be part of the KOA franchise. I don't know where we would have started marketing and getting customers without that base. So, but we've had a...
Go ahead, please. I thought you were done. I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I want to dive into your KOA, learn a little bit more about that. Some of the trends maybe you've seen in Florida would be interesting, and then some of the operational aspects of KOA too. And don't be nervous while you're on the podcast. I'm still don't know what I'm doing. This is new to me. I'm a very slow learner, and I'm confident you're a fast learner, so you'll pick it up quick. Yolanda from Alaska. Can we hear Yolanda? Still can't hear Yolanda. I'm sorry, Yolanda. I don't know if maybe you could try joining from your phone. That might help, but we can't hear you for whatever reason. But just yell anytime if you think you've got your mic fixed, and we'll try to get back to you. Mike, Sandy, and Jeff, do you want to briefly introduce yourselves?
Sandy?
No, we can't hear Sandy either. We're losing everyone's audio.
No, I was a good girl and I muted when you told us to. And then I forgot. So I'm Sandy Ellingson. I had a technology consulting firm and sold it, and then decided to hit the road full time as an RVer and fell into a second career. So I serve as a liaison between the industry and campgrounds, making sure there's proactive communication. And I absolutely love it.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. Mike?
Hi there, Mike Harrison. I work with CRR Hospitality. We both own and operate luxury RV resorts. We also do third-party management and consulting, and love participating in the industry in many different associations and panels and different venues and opportunities like Modern Campground. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Mike. And Jeff, last but not least.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Hoffman. I just enjoy the campground industry. I have been in it for a long time, and kind of sold everything off and thought I was going to retire and decided not to. So I started a business called Camp Strategy, which we go out and try to help campground owners make their parks better.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Jeff. I know you've only been in the industry for 10 years, but if you consider that a long time, that's fine. We can go with it.
I got socks older than that.
So yeah, I think I want to spend, I think it behooves us. This show is mostly about operations and improving operations. I think it behooves us, though, to spend just a few minutes and talk about data, because there's quite a bit that is changing in the industry. And I think it would help our audience to understand how other owners are either not being impacted or being impacted by some of the changes, and just glean some data. And I think just because we have that KOA North American Camping Report, we don't want to dive too much into it, but if Sandy has a couple things that she wants to call out from there that she found interesting, we can maybe talk about those things. And then I'd love to get, I think at least, and any of you are willing to jump in, but I'd love to hear Jennifer's opinion on what she's seen. She just said she had a great year, but we just saw the report in Woodall's who talked to, I think Mike Gass talked to Toby Rook and a few other people about some cancellations and things that they had seen at KOA properties in Florida. So I'm just curious specifically about that. But where do you want to start, Sandy? No pressure, but the most important and most impactful thing in the entire report. Go.
Well, I just thought it was super encouraging because we've been doing some kind of companion research along with some of the other things, and seeing how those two balance each other out. We are seeing significant increases in the number of people camping, the types of camping that they're doing. I think somebody else has already mentioned our retention of those COVID campers that have come in. And so, we're showing a 98% retention rate year over year from, if you go average everything from 2014 forward. And just the number of new households. Something else that was really encouraging to me that I saw that I loved was that there's 9.6 million tent usage, up 56%. And I'm very burdened by the fact that because we had such increases during COVID, we've kind of lost some of our onboarding capability for younger campers. We've priced them out in some ways, and a lot of parks stopped allowing tent camping. Now, not KOA, but a lot of parks are no longer allowing tent camping, which means, that we're losing our onboarding process for the younger camper. And you can only do that for so long before you start dying. And so this was super encouraging to me. And so operationally, how to tie this back, one of the things I'm talking to my campgrounds about is looking at things as onboarding tools. And that includes not only tent camping, but car camping, which is not a homeless person parking on your site, but somebody coming in who's probably—
It could be, to be fair. Probably isn't, but it could be.
Yeah, well, it could be. You're right. But the biggest fear when somebody hears car camping from a campground is this is a homeless person coming in. And that's not the case, because a lot of times they are coming in with a lot of expensive equipment. And the reason they're not tent camping is safety. They are concerned about tent camping, so they want to be in their car where they can close the doors. And so there's just a lot of really nuanced kind of things that I think we are going to be able to flip the script this year and have people view what they thought was a negative as a positive to be able to grow our occupancy even more.
So I think I'd like to talk about, and I don't want to spend the majority of the show on this, but I think I'd like to talk about a couple points, and maybe you already said them, but directly from the North American Camping Report, if you have it in front of you, because I know you collect your own data, and I know I'm not questioning the validity of any of your data, but I just want to make sure our audience knows where it's coming from when they hear it, right?
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the first page of the KOA report, which says that camping households, those who identify as campers, increased by 16.5 million or 23%.
Year over year?
This says camping households, those who identify as campers, have increased by 16.5 million additional households, 23% increase. It didn't tell me a time frame.
Okay.
All types of accommodations have seen an increase in use. And again, this is exciting to me. So 9.6 million in tent usage, up 56%. 6.4 million in RV usage, up 96%. 7 million in camping or glamping usage, up 101%. So those are the things that are really exciting to me, to see that, you know, we are growing. We're continuing, I think, in some of the growth that we got in COVID and retaining those people. I think that really proves this. So that's what the first page of the report, actually.
Mike, have you had time to read this? I assume you're usually a voracious reader.
Yes, I am. I'm not seeing those same numbers that Sandy's seeing, and I'm not. Let me be clear. I'm excited about the camping industry, but I'm not seeing that growth. The numbers are skewed if you're looking at it from 5 years ago.
And that's why I asked her the question, because a lot of those numbers I was looking at in the KOA report were 2024. Not that they're wrong, but they were 2024 over 2019.
Yeah,
right.
and I'm pulling this specifically from page 3, by the way. And the report is available at koapressroom.com. So they make it publicly available to anybody, even if you're not a KOA.
For sure. To be clear, we're not questioning the data, right? Because we love Scott Barr, who put it together, or helped put it together, right? We're just questioning the methodology of, like, there's a difference between 2024 over 2023 and 2024 over 2019.
Yeah, Mike, if you don't mind if I like to chime in here. Have you guys looked at the Google Trends reports for the keyword searches in these sectors for our keywords? There are some tailwind. There's some headwinds in front of us, and so
for sure. Yeah, and I guess that's my point, is comparing to 2019 is like saying, let's look at the AC industry and the filter industry from 2024 to 2019, and it exploded after COVID. So the numbers, comparing in that time frame, just I don't think are very prevalent. While it's an amazing growth, you really got to look at the last year and last 2 years and see it. But if you ask me what really stuck out in the report more than anything is just and it doesn't matter if it's the KOA report, or I know Scott released one, American Glamping Association released one, Sage Outdoor, they're all saying the same thing. And it's the evolution of the modern traveler, right? And I think that's what's really encouraging, is that there are new voices, to echo what Sandy said, that are coming into our industry that we have to be prepared for. And I think there's some interesting things that you should pull from that, which is, we look at all of our data and our demographics, and interestingly enough, and not every property is going to be the same, of course, but for 5 of our resorts, our demographics are almost mixed very equally. Right, baby boomers, like the same percentage as Gen X, is the same percentage as millennials, the same percentage as Gen Z. So what that tells us is, if you lump the Gen Z and the millennials together, which is when you have to, they're never going to look on Facebook, right? Versus our baby boomers and Gen Xers who are never going to look on TikTok. You can't market the same way to every person, and you have to understand who your target market is and evolve how you're going to get these new campers and make sure what you're doing to get them. And then part 2 to that, is we're talking about operations. We've been focusing heavily on experiential hospitality, is how do you then evolve your offering, especially Campground's been in business for 40 years. They've been doing the same thing. How are they evolving their experience to make sure that it is becoming more of a lifestyle experience, whether you have glamping or it's just an RV site or if it's a tent site? How is that becoming more interesting? How are you evolving and integrating technology into your campground? It doesn't have to be a robot like Brian wants. It can be, simple enhancements. But, how are you evolving to basically cater to the modern traveler, which is now going to, as the baby boomers expire or retire, or whatever word you want to use. And I'm not saying Jeff when I say baby boomer or expiring. But how are you evolving? That's what I pull from it more than anything.
And to kind of to go right off of that, Mike, I couldn't agree more. But the we talk about the changing consumer, right? And those demographics are changing rapidly. I'm sure we're all aware here of our Canadian travelers, right? And where do you redeploy those marketing assets, and how fast are you reacting? Because you don't want to be sending money after conversions that aren't going to come. Just because it worked last year doesn't mean it's going to work again. So you need to be really tracking these conversion ratios. You need to be tracking everything, and you got to be doing it almost daily at scale to get any kind of effectiveness out of what you're doing. Because we do have young demographics coming in, and they require different things. And so how do we fill that void? How do we make sure that the value proposition we're offering is there for that customer?
Well, I think that's the easy low-hanging fruit key, right? Is how do we make sure the value prop is there first for your guest of your park, which is different across your portfolio, Chris, across your portfolio, Mike, across all the people you consult for, Jeff, across all of KOA, Jennifer, all of your clients, Sandy. Maybe they're all the same in Alaska. I don't know. I can't hear from Yolanda yet, but we'll assume that they're different people in different parts of it. Can I hear you? Is that you?
Yeah, I think that's me now.
Oh, hi, Yolanda. You're not moving, but I can hear you, which is the important part for your wisdom. Would you like to introduce yourself real quick?
Well, after all of this, I just want to, hold on, let me give my elevator pitch. So, hi, Brian. I am Yoel, a Chinese Jamaican creative serial entrepreneur and real estate professional, a radical woman of God, and the owner builder of the Ark Denali RV Campground Resort in Alaska. The Ark boasts the best view of Mount Denali in the state, as quoted continually, and it is set to become a top-tier destination for outdoor enthusiasts. So put Alaska on your places to visit list and come and have fun and adventure with me, because we Jamaicans are everywhere doing big things. And so there's just a little additional pitch. So hold on. So if you want to discuss further, contact me. I have very lucrative investment opportunities still available. I'm sorry, I still have on my capital raise hat. It's been quite an adventure here in Alaska building this brand new RV park.
That's fine. You can wear, like we all wear many hats here, but I really like your intro. I think I'm just going to cede the podcast to you if you don't mind just starting it off for me in future weeks too, because that was pretty passionate and inspirational. So thank you for sharing. And Alaska is definitely on my list. I was actually going to go there in May and ended up having to, well, not cancel. Yeah, I had to cancel a flight because my girl couldn't get off enough time for work for her birthday. But definitely on our list. We'll be back there, or we'll come there. It's one of the states I haven't been there yet. So
isn't Alaska your next door neighbor?
it's not really like, Jeff, do you know how big Canada is? Have you measured Canada?
No,
like it's
I will
not like the same on a map where like you can fit 2 fingers inside a province and it just then you go to the next one. It's big, Jeff. I'm not anywhere near. Well, I'm about 19 hours away from the Alaska border, I think, or something like that. Maybe it's further. Anyway, so let's talk about. So thank you for being here, Yolanda, and we want to talk about your park in a little bit. I just want to finish up the data discussion briefly. I think this is the important thing, right? Like there's so much data to look at. There's so much that we're gathering from Google Analytics or call centers like Kurt and Mike do to, dozens and dozens of things, right? What do you look at? What do you pay attention to? Obviously, we could have that conversation for hours and it would, I think, be different. Like there would be a set of maybe 10 or 15 or 20 things that you would say every park owner should look at, but not all of them have the tech savvy ability to do that or the team behind them to do that. And so I think the foundational aspect of it is let's start with who our guest is and understanding them so that we can tell our story and we can set ourselves apart from an experiential standpoint, but also in a whatever headwinds we're facing. Like Kurt said, I think there's going to be a ton of them this year. But why am I different? Why? And we've talked about this on the show before, right? It's not enough to have, I also have a miniature golf course. I also have a swimming pool. It's, I have better customer service, or I have this that you don't have. And you've got to be able to tell that story at an individual property level. And by doing that and telling that story in a way that resonates with the type of guest you're trying to reach, I think you'll be ahead of 85% of parks in this country, in both our countries.
Brian, kind of what I found out by having multiple parks in multiple states, and I think Mike can attest to this, although we like to systematize the operations, every park that has a different feel to it. They all have their own personality. They all have their own individual little markets. So if you try to run them as all the same, you're not going to do well. Each market almost has to be done individually, and you have to praise what you've got in that market and capture the people you're trying to get, or who your customer really is. And a lot of that you can pull out of this data to try to figure it out, who you need to go after, and that's who you need to market to.
How do you
Well-
compensate for the fact that everybody's been consulted on by Camp Strategy with your brain, and then thus they're all kind of similar, Jeff?
It won't be.
Go ahead, Kurt.
I was going to say, I mean, Jeff, I think you're spot on. I think each park has its own demographic. I think a lot of parks rhyme, right? Like they are different, but they rhyme, and they come with a lot of similar points of action, because your messaging in Colorado should be different than your messaging in Texas, and it should be different than your messaging in Pennsylvania, right? There's dialects there, right? Freebie here is like the difference between campground and RV park, right? Different parts of this country use different words to search for the campground. And if it's not a one size fits all, but if your model supports a multifaceted business like that, and you're mining your own demographics, I think you're spot on. Like you can get in there and you can micro target your customer bases in terms of like acquiring a new customer. The things like Brian, I don't know if you want me to go through my top things, but like
Go ahead. Yeah.
bread and butter, I think, of this industry is you need to be looking at your pace reports, right? You need to know how you're performing and what your park is performing at in terms of like what's coming up into your future. And are you filling up as fast as last year? Do you need to fill up faster? And you need to be tracking your leads, right? And you need to be tracking those at a microscopic level. Are you converting at the same rate? Are those campers that you had last year converting at the same rate? Are there different demographics that are converting better? And should you be refocusing your efforts into those demographics? Because with the changes that are happening on the political level, right, like there are demographic changes right now, and we need to be pivoting our strategies towards those. And you can't wait. You got to do it quick.
Well, I think, Kurtis, one of the things that we're struggling with right now is our reservation window is so narrow right now. Whereas, previously campers were reserving 3-6 months out. The booking window is so narrow. It's making projecting so difficult, so the pickup report and stuff that I really, we're relying, it's very difficult to rely on those things now because you're picking up reservations in 3 weeks, but it's really hard to forecast way out. And then, I also wanted to speak to what Sandy said about the tent camping. We were blown away with the number of tent campers that we received. And at first we had them, I would say, priced too low. And it was a very negative experience for our manager. And so we raised the price point on those. I would say we do get a lot of homeless people, but not the homeless people that at the lower price points. What we're getting are a lot of elderly who are living out of their cars, parking in Walmart at night. They come because they want to use their facilities once a week. And these are clean, great people. I'll see the same lady there every week. So, just something that I did not anticipate as an owner, that somebody would be paying $65, $70 a night for a tent site when, there's an RV site that's just priced over that. I will say I do have my partner's campground in South Florida, and she has one in North Florida. And it's been interesting to see how their numbers and everything compare to ours, just based on the areas and demographics. And, we started thinking we'd approach it like those two. But like you said, we couldn't. It's a totally different area, a different beast. And you really have to get with your local, what do they call it, like Chamber of Commerce.
Yep. Destination marketing organization.
And they've done a lot of the work that you're talking about, so they can help you and identify that. And they've been a huge help for us.
But to your point, like, you're right, to be clear. I'm not, like, destination marketing organizations are a wonderful partner depending on the area you're in, like in most areas, right? But some are just don't have the funding, right, necessary sometimes. But DMOs and the people you can partner with to get that data. But to your point, like, I think this is an interesting discussion to have of the booking window gap, because boy, that can make forecasting scary, can it? And I'm not an owner. I'm just imagining it from a marketing perspective of how I would talk to 500 of our clients of, like, if they're not asking me to forecast every day, to be clear, right? But talk a little bit about that briefly. Who wants to take that? Because that's interesting to me.
I think it's a bigger discussion than that. You had asked earlier about kind of data and
Yeah.
I was on a panel last week, and I was asked to with Paul Bambi and Chris from KOA, and we were asked to speak about what does the next 5 years look like in the outdoor hospitality industry. And one of the things, as we all know, there's some headwinds that are facing us. Still a very exciting industry. But forecasting to me falls into the bucket of, let's call it, operational excellence. And there are many campgrounds that have existed forever that have never had to compete. And locationally they've just been great, and they've been around for 50 years. And maybe the owner still has an AOL email address, and maybe their website picture hasn't been updated for 20 years, and it's pixelated, the pics on their website. And with the evolution of COVID in the outdoor hospitality industry, there's been, certainly the last 2 years, an overabundance of supply. That's also, the Canadian traveler isn't the only reason, the only answer why the market's down. There's also all the new supply that's opened in the last 2 years from the COVID boom, let's call it, right? And so the markets now need to absorb the new supply. What that means is all of these campgrounds that have never had to compete, or don't know how to compete, or have never marketed, or haven't evolved, or still are handing out the brochure at the truck stop and that's all they're doing, the operational excellence really needs to be applied, right? And those that are forecasting effectively, those who understand that there's a change in their booking window, those that are leveraging the better enhanced marketing techniques, those that are utilizing experiential hospitality and evolving their product, that's who's going to survive, or thrive, I guess is a better word. And so yes, while the forecasting can be scary, to me it's really more about, do you know that your forecasting needs to be scary? Have you looked at that your booking window,
Any of your forecasting at all, right? Very good point. Yeah.
Right. And so that's, to me, is the bigger issue at play, is that there's a segment of the industry that may end up getting left behind if they do not hop on board of making changes and becoming more operational experts on their own properties. So that's, to me, is the bigger context.
Well, Mike, two things that you said. So we started developing our property in 2017. COVID hit, couldn't find a contractor. Anyway, by the time we got it all said and done, they built a 400 Sweet Citrus Acres, pops up, not exaggerating, a mile away. 400 sites, they're expanding another 500. I'm terrified, right? No, we have been so much more successful. I only know because the owner happens to be of my ex-husband's, and he's talked to me. They had to pay off their loan.
Such a fascinating story. This show is going to go 2 hours. We got to dive into this. Sorry.
They had to pay off their loan, which must be nice, right? Because I can only imagine what that loan was. And these are all concrete sites, a clubhouse, because they couldn't make their loan payments. Where we're in a much better situation. I mean, we were profitable, I think, within 2 months of opening, which is pretty unique, I think. And I would say operationally, that's key. Our management and keeping our staff happy, that is our number one priority. When you ask, what do I focus on? And that's morale of my staff. So right now we are running without a maintenance person because my partner and I, Paige and I, go up there. My manager does it. We weren't able to find one that really fit in. So we just run it as an all-girl crew, which Yolanda, you might appreciate. but we're women owned and operated, and even our maintenance person was a woman before we decided to do it without her. So yeah,
Yeah, I
morale
mean,
is the most important.
I think you touch on a lot of important things here too, but like both you and Mike are, right? The data is important, the forecasting is important, as we talked about, but you've got to get to the point where you're set up to forecast, and again, going back to understanding your audience and who they are and how you appeal to them and all that. You have to do the operational, not even excellence. You have to do the operational like half-assed first, and then get to the good, and then get to the great, and then get to the excellent. But you have to get those fundamentals taken care of first, right? And then you set yourself up for a situation where maybe you can forecast well or great one year, maybe you can't another year, but because you have your operational excellence down, because you know your team is in a good place and your amenities are in a good place and your resort looks good and you're treating your guests good, that like you have less to worry about probably than most other people who are or are not forecasting in your area. Is that fair?
Yeah,
I would
I
think
don't
so.
worry as much because
Brian, I think, and Mike, you can correct me if you think I'm off base here, but if we go back years into the hotel business, um, before franchising really took over the hotel business, it was kind of where we were before investors started coming into our business. Nobody was really modeling anything. Nobody was really putting in systems, tracking data. And now campgrounds are starting to get a little bit more sophisticated in their marketing, in their pricing, and everything else. So right now it's a dynamic industry because of the changes that are happening. Um, what I foresee in the future is probably between KOA, Jellystone, and maybe a couple hotel franchises coming over into our market space. We'll grow more into that franchise type model on campgrounds from now on.
I think they're all going to be our journeys and CRR hospitalities.
I was like, I don't know about Mike, but I know that we definitely talk to a lot of institutional clients, and that there is a demand there, and this institutionalization of this market space, it's happening, and they want to see these forecasts, they want to see these projections, they want to know where their marketing dollars are and is it being effective, and those. We went out and we had to build our own tools to provide that, right? To provide that dynamic system that moves very rapidly to get there. And so Jeff, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that we're in the early stages of institutional investors coming in. And I think that's good for everybody. I think that raises property value.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of Brian's very first guests on Modern Campground several years ago, and if you go back and if you rewind the tape, I said way back when, don't be surprised that one of the hotels, are going to get into the space, right? And then fast forward to a year ago, and then Hyatt was the first to get in with Auto Camp, and then Hilton was under Canvas, and then Marriott with Postcard Cabins, and it is only the beginning. Right. What this market does or what this industry doesn't have is distribution. Right. There's no Marriott.com. There's no Expedia.com. And once that becomes normalized and simplified, the access, which has started to touch everybody with glamping, et cetera, and the industry, the entire dynamic of the industry is going to change. The RV park isn't going to die, but it's certainly going to be more RV park with glamping, blended as we go forward. The 30-site RV park isn't going to die, but they're going to be few and far between. And it's exactly what I said last week at that panel was, how many more Joe and Bob motels are there on the side of the road, that are 30 rooms? It just doesn't exist, right? The smallest hotels that are being built in the last 20 years are basically 100-room town place suites, 100-room, Fairfields, and the Super 8s and Motel 6s, not a lot of those new builds. And so we're several years away from that. But and unfortunately, same thing happened to Home Depots, versus 8 little neighborhood hardware stores. And so it doesn't mean that the small campground's going to die. But it certainly is, there's going to be aggregation, there's going to be accretion, and, hop on board, I guess is the best way to say it. The ones who will not, are going to struggle. And to Kurt's point, we have done the same thing. That's how we've cut our teeth, is through sophisticated analytics and data and reporting and marketing and all those things, which is attractive to the institutional type, buyers. And so I don't say this for, I see, Yolanda's in the call, and I don't want to run your call, Brian. And I see, Jennifer's on the call, and they're small property owners. So I don't say any of this to scare away a small property owner, say you don't exist. That is not what I'm saying whatsoever.
Right.
But the complexion will change.
Well, and I think you have to look at, and just sorry, 1 second, Kurt. Can I call you Kurt, or is it Kurtis? So I have to be official.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I just want to make sure. You can call me Bri if you want. That's fine. We can be friends. So I think there's a couple things here that you mentioned, Mike, and then I want to let Kurtis talk. I think you're 100% right with the people evolving. Nobody, I don't think, I'm going to speak for you, Mike, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think anybody's saying you have to embrace institutional investing and sell your park to an institution or love the fact that it's coming in our industry, but you have to understand that it is, and you have to adapt to it, because there's going to be new and different expectations placed on you as a result of consumers being able to choose from not just independents, but independents and institutions. Is that fair?
If everybody's using a car and you're still using a horse, that's basically what we're saying.
But there is still a place, for some of you, just not 100%. All of you.
Yeah, there's still horses, there's still ranches in this world, and yeah.
There are lots of Motel 6s that are just not properly charging the meth labs to set up in their rooms. And if you did, you would probably be fine. Not to pick on Motel 6. I actually did this.
Nights in, that's a better.
Hey.
I speak that way out of joking, of course. But I still remember, we went to a La Quinta one time, we were staying next to a La Quinta. And there was a bunch of police that pulled up, and the whole wall blew out of the side of the building. And we were told it was a meth lab that was there. We were at dinner and came back, and it was so interesting times. But see, in all seriousness, there is a place for you, but you have to figure out your niche. You have to figure out your guests. You have to figure out the type of customer you want to serve. And you've got to be different than the institutions if you want to be different than the institutions.
Well, I think where we're also heading that's going to help the small campground owner is our PMS systems are developing so much quicker than they did over the years. There's, right now there's so many people in the industry. There's people that are looking at the industry to come in. And, I just think that the mom and pops, for them to stay competitive, are going to have to change a little bit and get new systems in and learn how to read the data. And I think that is going to help them stay in the market. KOA is helping a lot with their franchises by trying to give them, the best systems that are out there. They're always trying to upgrade. And everybody else I know in the industry, whether it's Camp Life, Camp Spot, New Book, they're making changes every week, trying to stay up on top of demand. And I think I make calls to different people every week saying, why can't we do this? Or why can't we do this? Why can't I look at this number? And for me, it sounds simple. For them, it's a lot of programming.
Well, Jeff,
Kurt, hold on. I want to let Kurt talk because he's been waiting. I want to let Kurt talk, and then Jennifer, if it's something to say, and then I want to talk to Yoel about her park.
Jeff, couldn't agree more. Our engineering teams, because we have our own proprietary property management system, and it's integrated, top to bottom, right? Website all the way through the call center to our rate management teams. And that definitely has given us a competitive edge because we aren't waiting on production timelines for someone to come out with a feature that's going to make us, an extra $1 million a year. We can prioritize that and we can set that out. And we're, we always say that the tagline here is operators that run the software. Well, operators should also be prioritizing what comes out on that software. And so I couldn't agree more. I think that the industry has a lot of work to do on that side of the business. I know we still have a ton of new features that we want to add to our platform that keep yielding.
Jennifer, did you have something? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I could not imagine opening a park, not being a part of a franchise, and not having the operating systems, bless you, Sandy, I think that just the value that's provided, not just in the name recognition, which of course you do rely on a franchise to maintain that name recognition, but the value that I have as a owner in terms of marketing, name recognition, and just the software alone, I don't know that I could develop that as a single campground. Now, Kurtis with his multiple, it's different, right? But as a 68 site campground, it just wouldn't make sense. So, that's what I had. I don't feel like a small campground because I am part of a huge franchise, if that makes sense.
Right, which is a different way you can take it, right? You get institution, you got by yourself, you got in the middle somewhere, which is where KOA is, where you have the benefits of both, right? In some capacity. So I think there's a good fit for everybody and there's so many other players that we're not talking about, right? But that's how CampSpot and New Book help people, the smaller parks that don't have the resources to develop their own. So there are pros and cons to all the things. It just depends on where you sit. So let's talk to Yoel real quick. I got corrected. It says Yolanda, but she wants to be called Yoel. I'm very confused, but I always am Yoel, so don't feel like it's your fault. Tell us about your property. Like, you did give us the elevator pitch. What I'm interested in is, first, how do you decide to develop in Alaska?
That's such a loaded question, but I just wanted to let you know, I just wanted to thank you very much, Brian, for this platform, because I'm the newbie on the block. And what it is that I'm primarily a designer and developer and visionary. I have marketing background. It's truly a unicorn. And this particular site, I tell the people, I said, the Lord had to trick me to get me to Alaska because I wouldn't have done it. And I even have a little testimony on my website because everybody asks, how did I get to Alaska? But I just wanted to let you know that this has been a over 5 year of me planning, and we're shovel ready to start as soon as the snow melts, that we can get started. And the thing about it is that it's good to not have a preconceived notion of what the RV industry was supposed to be, because I'm a visionary, because I'm a planner and I do master planning and marketing. And this was what was presented to me. And I researched my property it's like location, location, location. It is a blessing to have this property. And it's in the Denali State Park, and it's at the very beginning stage. And everything that everybody has been talking about, I have the benefit of implementing all that knowledge and all that information into my park. Even though my land, the property is 85 acres, I'm only developing 35 of it. And of that 35, I'm only putting 40 RV campsites. My park is like a resort on steroids, because what I'm doing, and most resorts in Alaska, they close for the winter. Alaska has anywhere from an average of 6 months of winter. Our summers are amazing because they're 24-hour day of summer. It has very unique qualities. But what the driving force of me being in Alaska, of me doing this project, and I will be open all year. I will be open 12 months for the year, because the winter time I have discovered, because honestly, I didn't even know how to get dressed during the winter. But now I love all aspects, winter included, of Alaska, is that there is so much winter activity. Denali is gorgeous during the winter. The night skies are fantastic with the northern lights. Mr. Jeff, you just coming back from your trip, right? We have Northern Lights. It's fantastic. But the main reason for me personally, it's a personal thing. I found out that Alaska has the highest rate of suicide in the nation. And you know what? Because like everything closes down during the winter time, and that's the darkness and all. If I can save one person, that's my goal. And I'm telling you, we're going to be open. We have like about a minimum 9 tour buses that go up and down the highway, and I'm not off the highway, I'm on the highway. And you can see Denali, the view of Denali right there from the highway. So what I've done is diversified, and I have the area for the park, the RV park, but I'm taking and capitalizing on my traffic, on all those guests. When you think of one tour bus holds like 90 people on average. So what do? I invite them in. I have a nice roundabout. I'm having a 2,000 square foot heated viewing deck. So they come in for free. They come and they take snap. I'm having a convenience store, a gallery of food. You want to keep them there as long as possible. Let them spend a little money and then they go on the way. The next stop is 80 miles north. The other stop below is 20 miles south. As a matter of fact, I mean, it just goes on and on. If you can think it and you diversify it, it has the most. I have a helipad. I mean, it's just amazing. I have the only safe river access because we're on the river, the large Chilitna River. I have the only safe river access in 50 miles north and south. That's amazing. So we can have overnight camping, day picnicking. I'll have riverfront cabins. The idea is not to overbuild, but to still have the good, excellent customer service. And you keep them there and they still drive up. It's an amazing opportunity. And you know what? I'm going to be there. That's my home. So I'm an on-site builder. Why wouldn't I want to live in the best view ever? So it's very exciting, very, very exciting. And I've been told that my part, especially because the RV is only we're going to have 40 units, and they're going to be triple wide. So if you feel, and everyone has the view of Denali. That's the amazing thing. And so I really capitalize as a builder, a visionary on everything that is spoken about. So I'm like a product, the child of everybody's vision of the future RV future industry is what Art Denali is about.
Well, and I think you're touching on a good point, right? Like we've talked about this throughout the whole show. This recurring theme of like operational excellence, understanding your guest, recognizing the location and the blessings that you have with your specific property that are unique from everybody else, and taking advantage of those, like the view deck of Denali and the river access and all the things you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And like I think none of us would probably complain. Well, maybe some of us who really are beach people, which I don't understand. Mountains are better, but most of us would really want to wake up to a view like that. But there's things that you can identify, whether they're mountains or rivers or beaches or whatever, or something smaller, even if it's just down to a customer service or a warm cookie that you're giving away at check-in, that really sets you apart and lead to that operational excellence. You've just got to not only take advantage of making your operations better, but understanding your guest and understanding your location, as you clearly have a vision to do. Would you agree, Kurt?
Yeah, I would totally agree.
So go ahead. Somebody else is going to. Oh, I was going to ask you another question, Kurt. I was going to ask. So tell us a little bit, and that we have a few minutes left, and we can go over a couple minutes. If somebody needs to drop off, they can. Unless it's you, Kurt, and you're in the middle of your question, then please finish your answer. But so talk to me a little bit about our journey, right? How many locations do you guys have now?
So right now on the platform, there are, I think it's 34, 35 on the Our Journey platform. We manage an additional 20 on top of that. And then we have quite a few onboarding scheduled for the rest of the year. So it's, we're definitely moving forward in the space and growing. I think did you want me to touch a little bit on what we just accomplished in the last week?
I do, but first, my opening question for everybody who's watching and is unfamiliar with Our Journey, I'm just super curious, and I ask everybody this who has a lot of properties, has been successful in the industry the first time they're on the show, is how did you get here, man?
Oh, this is a wild, a wild story. So we're a family office, and where we started was we actually started in garbage. We were one of the largest garbage companies in the country for trucking. And over the years, we've invested and divested of different businesses, whether that be solid waste, hydro facilities, solar farms, wind farms, apartment buildings, hotels. We've done housing. I can't tell you how many thousands of homes we've built. But we've been quite a few real estate asset classes. The most recent one was self-storage. We saw an opportunity during the COVID market to make an exit in storage, and we've rolled into RV parks. We started with 27, and we've grown since. And that's kind of how we got here. How I got here is I went to school, got a degree, and some crazy guy named David hired me.
It's usually how the best story goes,
kid,
right?
try it out.
I think we all have our crazy guy in our history or girl that helped us get to where we are, right? We could all tell those kinds of stories, probably multiple in my history. But so tell us about the recent news briefly that you've been going through, and then I'd love to hear, like, as a secondary answer, where do you see Our Journey 5 years from now? Let's pretend you get everything you want.
Okay. In industry news, what we just accomplished was it's groundbreaking for our industry. So CMBS is not foreign to this market, but it is foreign in terms of a transient component on an RV park. Pure seasonals, right? Pure monthlies have been able to get this kind of lending. But what we were able to do is we were able to blend in a monthly seasonal transient mix into a loan package. It was the largest of its kind, and it paved a road for other RV park owners and other RV park investors to use that as a comp to go get that kind of financing for themselves. I don't know how familiar this group is with CMBS, but that's institutional lending on Wall Street, and that's going to be some of the most aggressive lending that you can get in the space. And so that's a big achievement for the industry, not just us, because now people will be able to use our comp to go get the same.
So give me for the people who don't understand that and aren't in the financial Wall Street world every day, or even if they are, like, I think there's a significant number of people who trade stocks who may still not understand that. Give us the elevator pitch, like Yoel perfected, but a little bit shorter because we're running out of time, of how that might benefit the everyday campground owner.
Well, if normally what you're working with on your loan packages is that the regional banks, some parks are too big for regional banks, and they run into constraints on family of debt limits on acquisitions. And so if you're going in and you're buying, say, a $15 to $16 million loan, you start to narrow down your buyers and your pool of people that would consume that kind of loan. And what this opens up is the ability to get more competition for your loan package. So if you're doing a refinance, you can, do equity extraction. You can get cheaper interest rates for lower LTVs. It makes the banks compete harder for your business. And that's what it is, because it breaks up that loan into securities, and then everybody can buy a little piece of the security.
Interesting.
So there's new opportunities for Jeff to own 20 parks again.
There's opportunities for Jeff to own 200 parks. Just come talk to Our Journey.
Yeah.
And I will shamelessly plug our management company. We brand name our
Good.
journey, but the Advanced Outdoor Management, that is the team behind the brand, and they are phenomenal to work with.
Thank you, Jennifer. I know you have to drop here, but thanks for being here. I appreciate it. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk a little bit more about your park. We got to have you back on. We had so many people and so many good conversations, but tell them where they can find more about Crystal River KOA before you have to drop.
crystalriver.com. Come check it out, and or crystalriverkoa.com. And yeah, thanks for having me. And I'd love to come back on and share more about our campground.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sandy's been super quiet today too, but before we get to Sandy and ask if she has any final thoughts, she's never quiet, Kurtis. Like, right? This is very strange.
It's very.
It's like, it's almost like creepy. I can't understand it. Anyway, so 5 years from now, if you have unlimited funds or unlimited, like everything goes your way, is what I mean.
So our journey's intention is to, of course, grow in locations and size, whether that's through partnerships, joint venture, or just pure management plays. We're actively looking to get a larger footprint. I would say, like our 5-year vision is somewhere between 100 and 200 locations. Location count isn't as important as people think it is. It's more which locations.
Yep.
That's more important. I think Jeff and Sandy could both attest to that. It doesn't matter. It's the adage of real estate, right? You can change a lot about a park, but you can't change where it is.
Are you planning on being the first campground on Mars when Elon gets there?
I haven't had any conversations with him about that, but I'm open to them if he watches the podcast.
It's never too early. We actually, we did and I don't want to take up too much of the show here. We did a thing on Outwired, my other podcast, which starts in like an hour. It's like a Joe Rogan style. We drink whiskey and have fun. So not that we're not having fun here, to be clear. It's just a different kind of fun over there. But we talked a couple months ago about how you would take $5 as a startup investment in a campground and turn that into $1 trillion just by owning RV parks. And it went all the way to space travel and becoming the sole exclusive provider of like the first mover on Mars. And it's pretty interesting. So I'm just saying there's a future there. We use the $200 a month thinking AI model. It laid it all out. I'm not saying it's easy, but you're not looking for easy, are you, Kurtis?
No, definitely not looking for easy. Give us a challenge.
Sandy, tell us something. Oh,
well, first of all, it's very easy to be quiet when you've got such great guests and that I enjoy listening to. So I had fun with you today, Kurt. It was good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Sandy. And it was a pleasure to see you again. And Jeff, it was nice to make your acquaintance on this podcast.
I'm just going to point out, she said it was lovely to talk to all the guests, but not the host.
I get to talk to you a lot more than I do them, though.
Probably true. Okay. So final thoughts.
And I do love what you're doing. So I get to tell you that on the back channel. But the other thing, too, that I thought was interesting as I listened to everybody, and because I'm a little more seasoned than some, not older, just seasoned. One of the things that struck me is that I've always loved that KOA kind of led the pack with doing these annual reports and then being willing to share them, not just with KOA, but with other campgrounds. And I really believe that 2025 is going to be a year where we're going to have to see some changes in that happening. And all of us are going to have to follow the example that KOA set and be able to share agnostic data, nothing where we're, messing up people's privacy. But there are so many more types of parks and so many more pieces of aggregated data that we need to be able to collectively gather if we want to be able to compete with the hotels and the things that are coming in with this. And so I just thought today was a really good conversation leading to that. And again, I want to just encourage parks that, technology is the underpinning platform of everything great that everybody I've heard talking today. And so you've got to have the right technology. And if you don't know what it is, ask one of us.
If you don't know what technology is or the right technology?
No, the right technology for
Okay.
you, because
I think if you don't know what tech is,
question.
period, you're in trouble. But go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say it's an individual question based on the kind of park, but there's certainly a lot of people out there with a lot of great experience who can give advice.
And
Thank
Sandy, I actually have a great analogy that I use for technology. I'm like, technology is the car, data is your windows. And you want great technology because you want a fast car. You want to be able to go places, you want to be able to stop, you want to be able to steer. But if you're not looking at your data, imagine driving a car without any windows. You can't see where you're going. And that's how I describe the two and how they
I'm
work together.
stealing that. I am totally stealing that from my conference.
Well, I just wanted to say, as far as a 5-year, it's interesting. I've been doing this now for over 5 years in the planning stage, and now we are implementing. But I do have the first phase, and we're doing it by phase, because all the underground, when you're doing from a brand new situation, building brand new, all the infrastructure is really important, and getting everything set up. My phase 2 is actually putting my riverfront cabins, and my phase 3 is the hotel, because not everyone is going to be having the RV. In the interim, it was like finding treasure, is that my phase 3 site that I had set aside for my hotel, I'm going to implement and put in workforce housing and hostel accommodations, and I can actually get that up and running in 80 to 90 days while the rest of the project is being constructed. And so revenue can start right away, just for the exactly what we're talking about for the institutional loans, that sort of thing. Another to come in and vie for the business, but not just that. Also, RV parks are prime for USDA loans. They're 85% loan guaranteed loans, and those are actually really good loans. I know, like, all these various different loan opportunities, funding opportunities. It's been an amazing journey for me personally, for growth. And as I am quiet listening to all your podcasts now, talking about the industry, I'm learning a lot. I connected with Mr. Jeff there, and there's so much knowledge, Brian, that you bring to this. I'm personally humbled that I got invited here. I'm like, what do I bring to the table? But as I said, I'm the newbie going out, the child that is gathering all this information and putting it into action, and making a difference. And we can make a difference. We are here. The RV industry is an opportunity to it is a hospitality. I see it as a hospitality component for longevity of life, seriously, because there is that work. Everybody in life, going into that work life balance, and we offer that. We offer an opportunity for families to get together. We're not just RV owners, or we offer things more grassroots opportunities than most hotels do. We can do this. And so I feel there is a responsibility, to for what it is that we do. There is a responsibility that we have. So I thank you for me being here. I didn't. Let me get off my bandwagon. My
No,
box.
you're fine. Thank you for being here, Yoel. We actually have a lot of guests on the show just so Jeff talks less. So in addition to your intelligence and all the good things that you're doing, that's a side benefit for you being here too. So
Well, I'm very happy that I was able to connect with Mr. Jeff. I'm sorry, I'm Jamaican, so there is a certain amount of respect, for Mr. This and that. You can't take that
absolutely.
culture
I've
out.
known Jeff for a long time. He knows I'm just messing with him.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again for the opportunity.
Final thoughts, Jeff and Kurt, and then we can wrap up.
I'm pretty much just going to have to take off, Brian. I got another meeting. So I enjoyed the show. This was a good one. I enjoyed the conversation. And hopefully for the next one, I'll have all the KOA data read and dribble down into something I can use.
Awesome. Yep. Kurt, final thoughts?
My final thoughts are thank you for having me on, Brian. Absolute pleasure to be here. Hope I get invited back. And I'm excited also to dive into the KOA data and see the performance of 2024. It's always good to look back.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. If you're interested in the KOA data and you haven't heard enough of me talking already, in 8 minutes or so, we're going to do our Outwired show live with Scott Barr, who actually did the KOA North American Camping Report, and Greg Emmert, who is my co-host on Outwired. We're going to drink a little bit of whiskey. We're going to have some fun dissecting that data. We're also going to talk about, what's more important to consumers from a data standpoint, from the physical of the gasoline to the mental of the safety. And then we're going to even dive into flying cars and talk about that and how that's going to impact real estate and all kinds of things, because China just approved their first one and they're flying around over there right now and they're coming to America soon. So if you're not tired of me, join us there. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on MC Fireside Chats. Thanks, Kurt and Yoel, for sticking out with me to the end. Yoel, remember, when you get your park developed, the 3 people here stuck it out to the end. We should come visit first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You are definitely welcome, and please, I'd love to come back again if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a great show. Have a great day.
Bye bye.
MC Fireside. MC Fireside.